What's up, Narwhals? This is Mr. Cantwell, and I'm here with Ms. Dunn again.
Hey guys.
So, hey. So, we're going to be going over what I refer to as my big questions. If you are watching this and you're in my English class, you're going to see these questions a whole bunch of times. If you're in one of the other Marsh Creek English classes, I bet you'll bump into them here or there too. I love these questions because I think it's an easy way to really get to the heart of why an author wrote a book. And one of the things that we do in English class is try to figure out why these things were written, because authors write stuff to make you think and feel certain ways, and usually it's a way to help you grow up a little bit better or see things from a different point of view. So we got our big questions, and our first big question is, why did Avi write this story, Teacher Tamer?
So I love this question because it really makes you think about, kind of the moral of what the story was about. And I think he wrote it to say, like, consider different ways to solve a problem, right? You don't always necessarily need a stink bomb to solve your problem. So, that there's different ways to solve a problem, and maybe even solving that problem with kindness may be the best answer.
Mhm.
Um, and then I also thought, too, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. So Greg, he was really frustrated about being called out by his teacher. And then when he's, kind of creepily in her house, he learns a lot about her, and he learns, to make a kind decision. And he shouldn't make assumptions because he was making a lot of assumptions about his teacher, and he had no idea what her life was really like.
Yeah, and I think I like asking what if. I like
Mm,
it's actually a comic book thing. Like, what if he had gone to the crawl space and just threw the stink bombs in and threw the smoke bomb in and just bolted, and he didn't find out about her life? Well, then he might have gotten popularity with the kids, but I am certain that Mrs. Wessex would have been an angrier, meaner, less sympathetic teacher. But
absolutely.
because he stumbled into this situation, he learned all this new information about her. So just that neighbor, it's almost like that neighbor coming out where he had to dive in the crawl space was a turning point in the story, because it forced him to be in the situation where he overheard and learned all this information that taught him his assumptions were not right. She wasn't rich. She wasn't doing it to be mean. You can't make assumptions. You got to learn about the whole story.
Great point. So the next big question is, what lesson or lessons did Avi want his readers to learn?
And similar, I think, don't make rash, quick, non thought out decisions. And really don't do things for popularity, because that was a factor here. And
Hmm.
because I know you guys are in middle school and I remember how tough that is, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth grade, it's hard to not do that, because your brain and your gut instincts are usually telling you, like, do the thing that's going to make people either like you or leave you alone. And by people, I mean other students. But that can be really damaging sometimes. You can't just do things for popularity. There isn't always a very clear and easy answer uh, to be the other choice, but you can't just do things for popularity. It usually doesn't work out.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And just not doing it, not just for popularity, but to impress other people or for other people too, because you, at the end of the day, have to worry about you and you have to make yourself happy, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, trying to impress others.
Wonderful point.
And I think another lesson that you can learn here, we kind of said it earlier, is like not judging a book by its cover because you don't know. So putting yourself in somebody else's shoes before you immediately fly off the handle with your assumptions. So being
Mm-hmm.
able to take a moment, and even though something may seem a certain way, you don't actually know. So, don't judge a book by its cover. It's a great ELA teacher phrase.
Yeah, it applies to a lot of situations, and I think because it applies to so many situations and so many different books and stories and movies and stuff, it really must be something that a lot of authors and writers want people to understand, that just because you think you know somebody because you've seen him for a couple minutes or you know him in this one situation, you simply can't know. You got to open the book in order to figure it out. So we got our third big question: what did this story remind you of, and why?
Well, it reminded me of one of my favorite Disney movies, Beauty and the Beast. And it's going to seem like an odd analogy, but thinking of like Mrs. Wessex as the Beast, because at first, when you watch it, kind of like Belle does, you assume, oh my gosh, it's this like horrible beast. They're so mean. Look at like the Beast, yada yada. And obviously, as the movie goes on, I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Beauty and the Beast for some reason, Belle obviously falls in love with the beast and realizes he's not actually a monster. So just like Gregory realizes his teacher isn't this horrible, nasty woman, but somebody who's, struggling and just, needed a little bit of reassurance.
And I want to build on that Beauty and the Beast thing. It just struck me that there's another connection. Gaston, my favorite character from that movie. Gaston thinks the answer is go kill the beast, and he makes an assumption that he is evil. So just like the stink bomb and the smoke bomb seemed like the right answer at some point in the story, Gaston thought that going and killing the beast or hunting him down and
With
capturing him
pitchforks
was
and
the right answer.
fire.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a
Yep.
stink bomb.
It seemed like a good idea at the time. Well, wait, it turns out this beast is actually a person.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna throw out a story for this question. What does this remind you of? I'm gonna throw something out that I'm pretty sure that nobody has read yet, but I would love it if you kept it in mind in a couple years. There's a book called To Kill a Mockingbird, and I'm pretty sure that 80% of you guys listening are going to read it, and if not, you will probably hear about it because it's considered one of the greatest books ever written. And there's a quote in there that from one of the main characters who's a lawyer. He's a very admirable guy. He says, you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside of his skin and walk around in it. And that's hung with me, I think, since 10th grade when I first
Hmm.
read it, and I immediately thought of it here. So if you can hang on to that and in a couple of years bring it up with your English teacher, they're gonna like you like Miss Wessex like Gregory by the end of the story.
Just dropping the name Atticus Finch in there. Yeah, no, that's a great quote. I love that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're on our last big question, question 4. How will this story change the way you think and act in the future?
I think this is the most important big question because why do we sometimes we read stuff because it's fun, and you should be reading stuff because it's fun, just like you watch and play video games because it's fun to do. You get to have some fun, blow off some steam. But when you're in ELA class or when you're in something like ELA class, you need you're really trying to get to this point. You just read this thing or you watched this thing. It is now in your brain. If it's an emotional thing, it's probably also in your heart. How going forward is it going to change the way that you act? Because that's the point of English class, reading stuff, breaking it down, having it change us in a positive way and think about things differently, and then leading better, happier lives and being better friends and family members. So this is a really important big question. And the first thing that came to my mind is caution. You need to step back and think things through before you make a rash decision, especially if you're mad or emotional. Everyone's been in that situation where something seems like a good idea at the time, and then maybe you sleep on it and you realize, that was not such a good idea. I was just mad or angry.
Yeah, I think a good like connection, especially for our lovely middle schoolers who are growing up with technology, is sometimes you're really angry and you kind of want to fire off a text to like your friend or your parents. And instead of doing that, maybe you should put the phone down, walk away, kind of calm
Mm-hmm.
down, because you never want to say or even especially write anything that in the heat of the moment, because you clearly are not thinking as clearly as you could be.
Don't throw that smoke bomb. Don't write that email. Calm down a little bit and think about it.